Welcome to the first episode of what I'm calling Zuihitsu Arcade. Zuihitsu being a word to describe an old Japanese style of poetic journaling, and arcade being fairly self-explanatory. What I'm going to do with this series is play through a fighting game's arcade mode while I tell a story. Sometimes from my personal life, sometimes from somewhere else, often something I've wanted to talk about for a while but couldn't quite figure out how to make into a traditional video. I have a few reasons for trying this. For one, I know I don't update particularly quickly, so this allows people who appreciate my writing to have more of it. I could see myself doing these once a week, maybe even more often than that, while still having enough time to work consistently on my more traditional videos. You can essentially treat these as podcasts if you like. And for another, fighting game arcade modes are so often neglected, understandably, fighting games being designed more for multiplayer than anything else, that I like the idea of a series that allows me to shine a light on some of them. Honestly, I've always enjoyed arcade mode in fighting games a lot more than traditional FGC wisdom would indicate. Anyway, with all that preamble out of the way, this week's game is Pokemon Close Combat, a game I've talked about before on this channel, and this episode's story is one I'm calling The Neighbor Dog's Vigil. As you might know if you've seen my other videos, we used to have a dog. Her name was Athena, and she died in December of 2022 after having been in our house about 10 years. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a weepy video about grief. I've had years to process the loss, after all. It's about something a little more enigmatic. Athena was a beagle, which if you've never been lucky enough to have one, is a very energetic breed of dog. As such, she would very often play outside with the neighbor dogs. Well, as we were burying Athena, the neighbor dogs came by. Athena was in a box that already had a layer of dirt over it, so they wouldn't have been able to see her by any means. Without context, it just looked like we were digging a hole for no particular reason. But when the dogs came over, I looked up from my shovel and we shared a look. No words were exchanged, obviously. But one of the dogs reared its head back and howled. Then they sat there the whole time as we filled the hole in with dirt. When we were finished, they left. The science of animal intelligence is still inconclusive to my understanding. And I don't want to imply I know something that I definitely don't. I mean, my memory of that day might not even be entirely accurate. It's been 2 years after all. But looking back, it seems to me like those dogs were standing vigil for Athena. And in an odd way, I'm comforted by that.